Welcome to Dark Knight Films Reviews. I'm your host, Matt Spease. And today, as you can see on my shirt, I am focusing on Star Wars, but not the OG trilogy and not the prequel trilogy. No, today's review / rant will be a focus on the sequel trilogy, or better known as the J.J. Abrams Star Wars trilogy. Now, I want to point out, first of all, before I get to anything else about this trilogy, I am a huge Star Wars fan. I loved the original series. I loved the prequels. Yes, they had their issues. I was kind of disappointed in The Phantom Menace due to the fact that George Lucas tried to make it too kiddie and too kid-friendly in there and everything by, making Anakin far too young. That was just... I don't think he should have made Anakin so young in that film. But as far as Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, those were fine films. I don't really have many issues with the only issues I have with those is the Yoda garbage with him all of a sudden, going from this powerful Force user, and to a lesser extent the same way with the Emperor too. But him going from this really powerful Force user who doesn't even need to use a lightsaber, and all of a sudden he has him bringing out a lightsaber and just flipping around, like a gymnastics little freak. And it was stupid. That was my only issues with the second Attack of the Clones and the third Revenge of the Sith. The overall, I didn't have any issues with Hayden Christensen. I thought he did fine. And you can't criticize the actor because that was George Lucas telling him to do certain stuff. It wasn't his choice. Now, as far as after the prequels, we got Rogue One, which was a good movie. It was fine. And all of these Disney Plus shows, from The Mandalorian to the Book of Boba Fett to the newly released Obi-Wan, Kenobi, I think they're fine. I don't have any issues with any of those those shows and everything. Do they have, weak episodes? Yes. But what series always just has all non-stop, perfect episodes? No show. No show does. So, I think those shows were fine, and they've done better with the Star Wars universe than what the sequel trilogy did. Now, the only part of the Star Wars that I have total issues with and will not accept, and still have not and will not finish watching it, is Solo, a Star Wars story. I tried 30 minutes into that trash, and all the stupid explanations of how Han Solo got his gun, how he met Chewbacca, how he met Lando, all this bullshit that nobody wanted to see. Nobody cared about this. And yet, here they were trying to explain away all this. It was just idiotic. And the lead, Eldon Ehrenreich, I mean, he was horrible choice to take the place of Harrison Ford. Anthony Ingruber looks like Harrison Ford. He played the younger version of Harrison Ford in Age of Adeline. He was perfect. Even Harrison Ford himself said, "This is the guy. If you want a young Han Solo, this is the guy."
You're welcome.
Do they listen? Fuck no. So, that is my rant toward that. Now I can move on to the trilogy that I am doing this video for. Another point I'm going to make here is I'm a big Star Wars. I'm just the opposite of what my good friend John Vasilio is. He is a partial, casual fan of Star Wars, and is a bigger fan of Star Trek. Me, I'm just the opposite. I am, I love Star Wars, and Star Trek. I loved the original 60s series. I loved the animated series that brought back the original cast to voice the characters. It was like a continuation of the original show. I liked the movies, the feature films that featured the original 1960s cast. I hated all of the spin-off shows. Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise. I don't really give a shit about any of those. None of them lived up to the original TV show or the movies that the original cast did later. So, when J.J. Abrams did his Star Trek, I watched it, and I actually, I thought he did a good job. It was a pretty good little prequel, if you will, to the original series. I mean, you can literally watch J.J. Abrams' Star Trek movies and then watch the 60s show, and it's like a introduction to the characters before they were the characters from the television series. Everybody gave a performance that matched the attitude and the style of those characters from the original Star Trek, except Chris Pine. He's the only one I had an issue with, and that was just because he just did not feel like a younger version of William Shatner. He had the right look, just didn't have the right attitude and the right style to his performance. And that might be just because of J.J. Abrams, directing, not so much Chris Pine himself. So when I heard that, J.J. Abrams was going to do a Star Wars sequel trilogy, that, already liking his Star Trek movies, it just kind of made me just, I was instantly interested and thought this could be good. And then Force Awakens happened. And it started excellent. I mean, when you were first introduced to Oscar Isaac's Poe Dameron, John Boyega's Finn, Adam Driver's Kylo Ren, and the cool little cameo by Max von Sydow, that was great. That whole stopping Poe Dameron's blaster fire that Kylo Ren does in that scene was epic. And it made, Kylo Ren as a character look like a total badass in that film for that moment. And then, he takes him captive and the whole little escape that, when Finn helps Poe to escape and everything, that was pretty cool. After that, we were introduced to Daisy Ridley's Rey, which, I mean, I love Daisy Ridley. She is so cute, and that accent is adorable. She's just likable just because of that. But the character that she was given in this film, she's just so boring and just so uninteresting as a character. There's no, other than her, straight likability as, Daisy Ridley, there's nothing to Rey. And that's where Finn, as a character, which he started off strong, that's where he starts to get weak, is whenever he's put into these scenes with her. And he's just wasted. Whereas Poe at least gets to continue on and get to do these little cool, fighter pilot stuff, which made him look like maintain a pretty much a badass throughout the movie, which was cool. Kylo Ren doesn't get that. Kylo Ren is turned into a whiny, emo little bitch. And that opening of how powerful they made him in that first scene, to turn that character like this, it was disastrous to do that to that character. And Adam Driver is a great actor. There was no reason to do this to him. And, and then the whole ending with the whole, hey, we're going to do the Death Star again. Death Star 2.0. We're going to destroy a new version of the Death Star. Hey, we did that in Return of the Jedi, okay? We don't need it again. I mean, it made sense with the Return of the Jedi. We rebuilt the fucking thing, But to make a new representation of the Death Star, even though you're not calling it the Death Star, it was just, and if you're going to sideline Luke Skywalker and not have him a character in the story, if they wanted to keep Luke out of it, I mean, they could have had him on another planet taking care of something else, and there's no way of contacting him. So have Han, Rey, and Finn going with Chewbacca going to try and get to Luke to let him know that Leia and her group of rebels are needing help. I mean, that's simple. If you're going to kill Han Solo off, that would be a better way of doing it than the way they did it in this film. Because Han Solo's death in this was bullshit. It was stupid. I would have rather seen at the end of Return of the Jedi him, flying the Millennium Falcon in the final, to destroy the Death Star and blew it up, but died in the process. Because at least he would have went out like a man, like a hero. Not like a little bitch, like they showed him doing in this film. It was just stupid. But he could have, been they could have been heading there. Kylo Ren cuts them off. There is no there's no big new Death Star bullshit. They could have done their own story, and during the Kylo Ren trying to cut them off and stop them, Kylo Ren ends up killing Han Solo. And once you get to that point, which this film already did, but they didn't do it in a good way. But once you get to that point, the next film, you keep Kylo Ren, your villain. One thing I did like about The Last Jedi was the surprise killing of Snoke. A lot of people had issues with that. I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't like the fact that you stuck Finn again to the sidelines and didn't do shit with him as a character. Rey, you stick her on that planet with frickin' a shitty version of Luke Skywalker who, is not Luke Skywalker at all. Maybe played by Mark Hamill, but that is not fucking Luke Skywalker. Luke should have been Luke in this film, in this trilogy. Like I said, if they would have made him, on another planet or something, and they were trying to get to him to let him know that Leia needed him with Han, and that Han dies, we'd have had a moment to grieve, and then he would have joined Leia and the rest of them and formed a plan to stop the First Order. Still could have had Rey go to Kylo Ren, and because he could be getting in her head. That I did like that in a way, because it could have set up something that I think would have worked better than what they did with bringing back the Emperor in The Rise of Skywalker. You didn't need to bring back the Emperor. The Emperor should have stayed dead. That was the great moment where Vader redeems himself. Yet you just discredited that by making, he's alive. He's still alive. So Vader's, sacrifice was for naught. Bullshit. Just like Han Solo dying was bullshit. And then the ending to The Last Jedi. Luke force projects himself to help the rebels to escape. And once he goes back to the planet that he's force projecting himself from, he fucking dies. Really? That's how you're going to kill another legacy character. Now, I can understand Rise of Skywalker having to deal with Carrie Fisher as Leia the way they had to because of her untimely death. But Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, no. No. You do not do that with these legendary, iconic characters These are your legacy characters. They deserve respect. You want to see what a show that shows respect to the previous films? Watch Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai respects what came before and expands it and makes it better. In fact, think about that. What I just said makes it better. They do. You think the Johnny Lawrence character in Karate Kid had any character development really at all? Not really. Not really. He was just portrayed as just a bully. That's it. Martin Cove as Kreese, same thing. Does he have any character? No, he's just an evil sensei. He has no real reasons why he's doing anything like he's doing it. That show shows you these people have lives. They have personalities. They have their own development that they can do if you do it properly. And that's what that show does. And that's what they could have done by bringing these legacy characters into this J.J. Abrams Star Wars trilogy. My ending to this thing would have been, yes, the Snoke thing was great. That was not bad. I like that. But Kylo Ren, by the end of the film, end of Last Jedi, have Kylo Ren and her defeat Snoke's guards, and then, because he does it, they just don't go anywhere with it. He offers her the chance to join him, and they can lead the dark side. Perfect. And if you strengthened Kylo Ren throughout Force Awakens and didn't weaken the character and make him some, emo bitch, that moment when he does that, and you would have had these little moments where he's getting in her head, using his, force powers to get into her head and, talk to her in a way, even though she's in another plane. Whenever he makes the offer, of course she refuses, and she tries to fight him, but she's not powerful enough to defeat him. And he defeats her in the battle. He doesn't kill her, And then he could put his lightsaber up to her, up to her neck like he's going to kill her, and then, retract it, put it away, extend his hand, and say, "Now join me." And the end of that, the big cliffhanger at the end of the Last Jedi could have been, boom, she takes the hand. But there would be no Luke Skywalker sacrificing. He would still be fighting. Hell, you could have had him fighting Captain Phasma's armies and stuff with Leia during these moments, which would have been cool. And Captain Phasma is another character that was wasted in this series. She looks good. She's and she's a big girl, so she could have been a great character. And they just wasted her in The Last Jedi. You could have her and I don't mind her dying in The Last Jedi. Have her, trying to fight against Luke and the forces, and Luke ends up killing her. Cool. A good end to her character. And she dies by a legacy character, so that doesn't make her weak, that makes her strong. Because she got beat by a legacy character. She got beat by somebody as badass as Luke Skywalker. And then the next, the big cliffhanger at the end of that could have been her taking his hand. Boom, we're into the end credits. You know, you imagine the audience anticipation for the Rise of Skywalker and the title Rise of Skywalker. Much better fitting title for this idea than it was for the one, because it's basically you're turning over a character that's revealed to be a Palpatine into a she's going to adopt the name Skywalker by the end. Yay. Bullshit. The next film could have been Rise of Skywalker, could have been she's fully on the dark side. They had these little fan things that fans did, you know, doing artwork of Rey, a dark Rey, and or not talking about that, you know, vision she sees when she goes to see the Emperor and goes looking for the Emperor and shit. And that was not it, okay? You know, that's not what I wanted to see. I mean, it was a cool moment seeing her with the, you know, the red Sith eyes and everything, but it was fake. It was fake. So, to get her really turning to the dark side and being alongside Kylo Ren as his apprentice. He's the master now. She's the apprentice. It would have been great. Because her character wasn't that absorbing, that interesting to begin with. Give her some moments to where she's, you know, conflicted, fighting it, you know, kind of like Luke in the original series, you know. But, you know, they botched it. They botched it. But the ending could have been this really kick-ass finale where you get Luke confronting both. I mean, you talk about the Phantom Menace, the great fight in the Phantom Menace, you know, Maul versus Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is one of the best parts of the Phantom Menace. And it's still one of the greatest lightsaber duels ever. Imagine, you know, making this cool finale be Luke Skywalker fighting against both Kylo Ren and Dark Rey. And eventually you'd get, there's no redemption arc for Kylo Ren. You get Luke jamming that lightsaber through him. This is for Han. Whack! Slice his head off. And then Rey tries to attack him, and of course, she's not good enough to beat Luke Skywalker. That's another thing, Last Jedi. Oh, she defeats him. She defeats Luke Skywalker. Fairly easy, too. No. No way. No way. So, they disrespected every one of the legacy characters. And Lando, there is a cool thing that they could have done with Lando instead of just, here, let's just throw him in here in Rise of Skywalker for no real reason at all. Give Finn a really good storyline to where that's his freaking father. You know, he never met his father. He was taken and trained by the First Order to be a stormtrooper all of his life, and he never knew who his real father was. And then here we end up finding out that he is the son of Lando Calrissian. Much better than what we got. So, yeah, in my version, you know, after Luke defeats her, she would come to her senses, you know, and he could help her to turn away from the dark side, and she could be one of his new students, that he ends up starting to train for the next generation Jedi. Much better ending than what we got in the films. But that's what I would have did. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the series, and some of these things that I've seen in the Disney shows, they got some really good stuff going on in there. The explanation of how Boba Fett survived in the Sarlacc pit. That was pretty cool. Well done. Well, we saw it in comics, because I'm such a big fan. I've read a lot of the comics and I'm a comic book fan too. I'm not just a horror movie enthusiast, as you might think. I'm very diverse in my what I appreciate, and I'm more just a film enthusiast overall. I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of film it is, So these shows are doing a better job of representing Star Wars than what this sequel trilogy did, and it was very disappointing to me that J.J. Abrams did that, because he, like I said, it was very impressive. What he did with the Star Trek films. I thought they were fine. I did have issues, like I said, about, a couple of things like Chris Pine. But his performance did get better in the third Star Trek film. He finally was starting to feel like Kirk. So, that series I could sit and rewatch multiple times probably and be fine with it. I don't know if I can do that with this Star Wars sequel trilogy. Like I said, I love the actors. I mean, I think they did a really good job casting some of these people. Oscar Isaac's amazing. John Boyega's a good actor. Daisy Ridley is a good actress, and of course Adam Driver is an amazing actor as well. But these films were not a good showcase of their talents. So, if I'm going to give a review, a full review, even though this is more of a rant, my review of the Star Wars sequel trilogy is as a whole trilogy 4.5 out of 10. This is I believe this is my lowest review of anything I've reviewed so far. So if I ever finished watching Solo, I'm sure that would probably be a 2 point something. So just appreciate the fact that I have not finished it and will not finish it, because it was just, I watched about 30 minutes of that and I couldn't sit through it. At least I could sit through this sequel trilogy, even though moments of it just had me just smacking myself in the head and wanting to just go after the J.J. Abrams and some of his people associated with it, Rian Johnson and everything, and smack them in the head and tell them, what the hell were you thinking? Legacy characters should be treated with respect. Like I said, best representation of that is Cobra Kai as a TV series. That show respects its legacy characters. That's the way you do it. Take notes, Star Wars. Take notes. That's how you do it. Now, so far from what you're doing on Disney Plus, on these movies, on the shows that you're doing okay. You're doing all right. You know, I don't have many issues with that. But this Solo and this sequel trilogy, you got to do better. You got to do better than that. And so far you have on these Disney Plus shows. So I'll give you a little bit of credit for that, you know. So don't screw it up and ever go back to this. Don't ever go back to the crap that you did in this. So, in closing, as you can tell, I am not a huge fan of... I'm a huge fan of Star Wars, but I'm not a huge fan of the sequel trilogy. Like I said, I love a lot of these actors that played in this. I think they're fine actors. I think, you know, they're good. They have talent. It's not their fault. I more blame people like J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson. Those are the people who made the film and made the decisions to make them and do these things to these legacy characters like Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, and Princess Leia, and even Lando Calrissian. So, I hope you've enjoyed this rant. If you do like it or don't like it, you know, leave some comments down below, you know, and let me know. And let me know what else you'd like to see me cover on my channel. Like I said, I'm into films completely. I'm not into just horror, so I'd love to you know, talk about more things than just horror on my reviews. So if you did like this video, you know, please like, share, subscribe, because, you know, subscribing to my channel, it really does help me out a lot. So appreciate that. But we will catch you on the next review. Thank you for watching.